Hey guys, so the other day God told me to turn to Psalm 15, so I read it, and the first verse is, Lord, who shall abide in thy tabernacle, and who shall dwell in thy holy hill? He that walks uprightly and works righteousness. He that backbiteth not with his tongue, nor does evil to his neighbor, nor takes up a reproach against his neighbor. And the meaning of reproach is disapproves or disappointment, disgrace, shame, ridicule, or subject to verbal abuse or attacks in shaming someone. Okay, so verse 4 says, in whose eyes a vile person is contemned. So meaning of contemned is to treat someone with disdain, scorn, or disrespect or dislike. And to treat somebody as being worthless. Okay, that sweareth to his own hurt and changes not. I hope you guys can hear me because of the noise. Alright, so when it says of his own hurt, this means keeping a promise when it means that it's inconvenient for the person that made the promise. And it means like stick to your word, uphold integrity and honor over personal gain, regardless of the personal cost. A person of your word. So verse 5 says, he that puts not out his money to usury. So usury is an illegal action or practice of lending money at an unreasonable high rate of interest, nor takes reward against the innocent. And it says, he that does these things shall never be moved. So I'm going to wait a minute because there's some noise in the background. It's a little kid riding a little motorcycle, so I'm sure you can hear it, and not me. So usury is excessive interest, and so I'm like, wow, because I never really got this as the way I did. So it means, like, for instance, your neighbor. So he that doesn't backbite with his tongue nor does evil to his neighbor, which a neighbor could be, your next door neighbor, it could be somebody you work with, it could be, just referred to anyone, basically. So it's talking about, we cannot abide in God's holy hill. So in other words, if we're doing these things to people, and we're expecting to go to heaven and dwell with God in his holy hill, it's not going to happen. And then I think about usury. I think about when you go to get a loan for a vehicle and they charge you like 29% interest, and that's really, it's wrong. It says it right here, it's wrong. And I hear that a lot, people that don't have a lot of credit and stuff, and they charge them that just so that they can get a vehicle, but that's not right either. So and meaning of contemned is when you disrespect somebody, or you talk down to them, or you act like you're better than they are, or whatever. I mean, that's something to think about. And I'm going to tell you a dream. And when I read where it said, who are the inhabitants of God's holy hill? Okay, and it says, who shall abide in thy tabernacle? So when And here comes the noise again, so you're going to have to give me a second. The little kid, I guess, is having fun. He's on this little bitty motorcycle, but it is loud. He always gets louder right here. So, okay, so he's pulling in. So, anyway, so when my daughter, she was like 4 years old, and it was when, at the time I was married. So, I had a dream, and actually, 3 of us, I had a dream, my ex-husband now had a dream, and my daughter had a dream that same night, but we didn't know it until the next day. So I dreamed that I had pulled up in my vehicle, and I was in the church parking lot, and one of my friends that I go to church with, she was sitting like right beside of me in her van, and so I saw her sitting there, but it started just kind of raining, not really hard, but just a little bit. So for some reason, I mean, I was sitting there, but I got out of the car to get in the trunk to get my umbrella. And so when I did, I look over, and this lady, she's doing the same thing that I'm doing. She's getting in the back of her van and getting an umbrella. So while I was in the back of the trunk, I felt something like barely touch the top of my head. So when I did, I looked up. I'm like, what is that? So I look up, and I see these angel wings, and I'm not lying. I see these angel wings that are so huge and so wide. It would be probably the length with both wings, probably more than a football field. It was so big. And so I stood there and watched in amazement. And so I was watching these wings, these angel wings that touched me. So as I watched, it was like the angel wings began to kind of rear up like this. It was kind of reared up this way, but you know what a jet engine sounds like when you're, say, at an airport and you're watching a plane take off. Okay, so this is what this sounded like. It sounded like a jet engine, and all of a sudden it shot up into the sky, 3 whirls like this, and it landed 3 times. I watched it go up into the heavens, and the 3rd time the angel wings landed. So I was looking up, and as I was seeing, I saw the angel land, and I saw a little kid, and then I saw another figure, and I knew it was Jesus. So Jesus was standing there, and it was like they were kind of on a cloud. And I saw the little kid jumping up and down. And then Jesus bent down, and I knew what he was doing, because he bent down and he kissed the kid on the cheek. And so I saw that, and then all of a sudden the clouds were just all bundled together like this, and they were kind of like up on the clouds. All of a sudden the clouds rolled away, and just rolled just as far away. They parted in the middle, and I saw a city, and I don't know if I guess it's the New Jerusalem, but I saw this city, and it was the most beautiful houses you've ever seen. I've seen, like, in very wealthy neighborhoods, these brick, real pretty brick, 2 and 3 story houses that at the very top of the houses where they have all of the artistic, what do you call it? It's like an ivory trim at the top, and very artistic and just beautiful. Something you'd see maybe in a museum or something, a very old like building or whatever. but they were just beautiful. And they were like 2 and 3 and 4 stories high, each one of them. But the way that they were made, it was like they were in a U shape, like this. So over here, there was like, it was up kind of high, and it was like a hill. And I saw, and the only way I can explain it is that this is the only way. It, to me, it favored like a gazebo that you would have in your yard or whatever. But inside that gazebo, there was like a really huge, like a throne, basically a chair, a big throne. And but there was nobody sitting in the throne. So when I saw the hill here and the houses were kind of down here, this one main house that was here, that was a brick, and it had the very pretty ivory awning and all that. So at the very top floor, it was like maybe a 3 or 4 story high, but at the very top floor, it had a porch. It had a door, and you could go out on the porch. And it was like, it had the rails and everything, and you could go out on the porch, and it was facing, so the hill's here, the porch is here, and it's like facing where you can just look directly up at the throne. And it was like really close, you know. I mean, it was far away, but it was pretty close. You could just see really good. So I started reading in Psalms, and it talks about the hill of Zion and God's holy hill. So I'm thinking, okay, well, is that God's holy hill? So I get up that morning, and my daughter, she gets up, and she tells me the first thing, because I was fixing breakfast, she told me the first thing that she had a dream. She said, Mommy, I dreamed that Jesus came into my bedroom. Oh, and I will say this, when I saw the angel wings, I immediately, and I know that Paul says whether out of the body or in the body, or, you know, awake or whatever, my eyes were closed, but I saw Jesus walk into my bedroom. And I looked at him, and I spoke to him, and I said, Hi, Jesus. And I was looking at him, and he was wearing a red robe, and it was like over him. I couldn't see his arms, but I saw a sword which started here, and it went all the way almost to the floor. Excuse me, guys, it's hot. So it went all the way almost to the floor, and it was gold. And so I asked him a question, and then all I remember is waking up the next morning. So I guess he put me to sleep. But my daughter told me, she said, Mom, I dreamed that Jesus came into my bedroom, and he came through my window, and she said he just scooped me up like this right here, and he took me to heaven. She said I flew, and I was an angel, and she said I flew to heaven. So I knew right away that I was seeing her, that Jesus had came down and he had took her, and she was the one that was jumping up and down. And she told me, she said, I saw a big lion, and she said I saw a big couch, and she said I played with the animals, and she said I saw a zebra, and there was a little puppy that was playing ball with me, and a little bunny rabbit. And she said that when she had to come back, she said that and I've actually seen this on the NASA website, where there was like it looked like a slide, and it was red, and it was coming down through the atmosphere. And she said that when she come home, she slid down a slide, and the puppy was sliding with her and was behind her, and the puppy was going, oh, like wee, you know, it was playing with her. So, and then of course my husband at the time had a dream that he was in a warehouse. I guess God was protecting us, because there was like a demon after him, and he saw a little bitty light, and he was trying to get to that light to get out the door. But the holy hill, so that's what made me think, well, that's God's holy hill, and so are we going to make it there? You know, if we treat others wrong, and don't treat others with respect and love like we're supposed to. And then if we lend money and we charge too much interest or whatever, I mean, it's just something you think, really? But if that can keep me out of heaven, Lord, help me to treat others the way He wants me to treat them. So it was just a little nugget for you guys, something to think about, because I know that I'll definitely be thinking about that, because, I mean, I've had run-ins with neighbors, and I've had to repent. I've had to ask them to forgive me. So I don't want nothing to keep me out of heaven. So I'm gonna let you guys think on that, and so I will see you the next time. Thank you, and like and subscribe and help a girl out if you can. Thanks.